Good morning to all of you. Pleasure being here and seeing so many. Let me just make you aware of something. I come with no notes, which means that my stay here will be short. If you buy that, I want to sell you a bridge. But pleasure having all of you here. And I want to thank President Miller for his kind words and his support for our being able to have this event on this campus. We are here today because a decade ago, we started out on this trek to try to focus attention upon an issue that seems to have been, at the time and still does, seem to be such an integral part of what goes on in our communities, and to some degree ignored. Maybe not totally, but to some degree ignored. And I think it's an issue that started out some time ago, and we all know of as a war on drugs, and it has left us with a legacy that is permeated the communities in which we live, because the result of that war has created some of the problems, some of the issues that are to be dealt with. I was just kind of knocking around in my head the other day, and I was kind of curious about something. And that thing that I was kind of curious about was, when did this notion of asking the question as to whether or not someone was a felon became widely used? 5 years ago, 10, 15, or 20, or what? You figure that out. But it became something that was widely used, and it legitimizes in a real way fostering and continuing practices that we engage in that does not speak to trying to eliminate the hardship that one has to deal with as they go about their lives. And so I was sitting the other day and I was kind of thinking, I say, well, let me see what I can find out. So I put in my pocket someplace and I see if I can find it. How many people are employed in this country? And I had Ken look this up for me. It's around about 274 million. I said, well, no, I need something else. How many are unemployed in this place we live? And it was a little bit over 10 million. And he said, by the way, there are about 7 million part-timers that employ. And I wanted to find out something else, and that was how many people we deem to be felons in this country. And the number that came back to me from 2010 was 20 million. I say, now, you take that 20 mil, apply it across the board to the numbers that I just gave you previously, and you can begin to figure some things out. Well, let me see if I can give you some of those things to begin to figure out. You know, something like, what does that 20 million consist of? Who is it? What are the obstacles that may be getting in their way? What is it that we do to try and alleviate the problems that emanate from the numbers that I've just given you? But take it a bit further. If you would take for a moment, and I'm just throwing in stuff for you to just kind of listen to for a moment. If you would take for a moment what that 20 million might look like, those who are felons, and what their futures are, what their families may be like, the communities in which they live, the opportunities that avail themselves to them. you think about that for a moment. Just what would that be like? What is it like? And what is it that we all can or should be doing? And I kind of took it upon myself to think in terms of there was one issue that I needed to deal with here, and that is focusing some attention upon how do we get those who are hopeless to regain their hope. Because God, I hate to see that 20 million lose all hope. And what are we left with if that should become the case? 20 million without hope. Never mind the crowd that ain't looking. But 20 million without hope. What do we do? Can we do anything to try to mitigate that absence of hopelessness that has descended in a big way on this group? Now, I think that sometimes I feel that I'm kind of hard, so I've heard all the stories. No one can tell me a story that I haven't heard something like it before. So I got this guy, had this woman call me, this lady called me, and I can tell when she said, so-and-so told me to call you because you could help with this. And all the bells began to ring. They were expecting a miracle from me. So I went and met with this guy, and he said, Mr. Dyson, really what I want to do is that I want to get myself together. I want to get on the straight and narrow, and what I need to do is get the pardon. What do I do here? I said, well, what have you been doing, man? He said, well, I work at this place, and I've been working there for a while, and I just want to get going. I said, well, here's what you need to do. You probably need to write your life story. You probably need to get some people who are going to vouch for you. And by the way, your boss, that would be a perfect example for you. He said, yeah, you're right. I said, by the way, does your boss know that you served time? No. I said, holy shit. Now he's got to decide whether he's going to run the risk. You know what the story is. What is it that we do to have those who are among us be in a position by which hope can return as a part of their lives? That's what we are going to be talking about today, the remnants of the war on drugs, the legacy that it has left us, the issues that we're confronted with, the task that is before us. 10 years is a long time that we've been on this trail to try to do this. Does there need to be another 10? And what will the accomplishments be when we arrive at that other 10? And will that 20 on the felons be any worse than they are today? And will hope be returned to the lives of people who just want to get on with it? We want you to think about that today as we talk among ourselves and on the various panels that we're on, and just to see if we can shed some light on what it is that we can do to make for the old cliche, a better day. So good luck to all of you today, and anything I can do, let me know. Good to see you, bro. Thank you.